This is Miss D.M. Arvekar, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Zoology, Rajarshi Chhatrapati Shahu College, Kolhapur. And in this very interesting topic, we are going to study about egg, its structure, and different types of eggs in different animals. Now, this is the structure of a female gamete in the human being, and this is the structure of a female gamete or the eggs in the insect. And if we compare the structure, then the structure will differ from the animal to animal, right? So, if we consider the egg of the human being, it consists of the its nucleus, which is carrying the haploid set of a chromosome. Then it is having its own cytoplasm surrounded by the cell membrane, which is the primary membrane of this gamete. Then it is surrounded by the transparent covering, which is called as a zona pellucida, which will obviously look like a zone, transparent zone. So it is called as a zona pellucida. And this zona pellucida is surrounded by the layer which is called as a vitelline membrane, which is which is situated near to the zona pellucida. But when this egg will get fertilized, this will get shifted, and the distance between the zona pellucida, outermost layer of the zona pellucida, and the vitelline membrane will get increased, and the vitelline fluid will get secreted in this junction. And the outermost covering, which is radiating from the vitelline membrane, this radiating appearance is created by this follicle cell, and it is looking similar to the corona of the sun. So this layer is called as a corona radiata, but not such types of layers are present in this insect egg. Now the egg membrane, as we have learned here, that egg membrane is surrounded by the three different types of egg membrane. Not all the eggs are having all the three types of egg membrane. It will depend upon the type of animal, and it will also depend upon the type of egg. But generally, the membrane which is having its the membrane of a egg itself, that is a plasma membrane, which is called as a primary membrane. The certain membranes which are secreted when the egg is in the laying process, that are called as a secondary membrane and the tertiary membrane. Now, if we observe or if we cut the egg of a bird, then this will be the structure we can observe here. So, as we know, if we consider the egg of a hen, then it is broad at one end and narrow at another end. At broad end, it is having a air space. And if we observe the egg of the bird, it will having a number of pores. And due to this developing embryo or the embryonic stage, the gaseous exchange will take place, and due to which this air space will get increased. Now, as this layer is of the egg albumin, if we cook this egg or if we boil this egg, it will become the egg white. And this yellow part is nothing but the yolk, or which is also called as a vitelline. But even that yellow part or the yellow part of this yolk is consist of the different concentric layers of this different concentric layers. It is at central, it shows the latebra on which it will continues upward in the form of a pander, nucleus of a pander, on which the entire development of an embryo takes place. And in this yolk, the concentric layers of a white yolk is present. So this is not just a yellow yolk. It is consist of the white concentric layers of the yolk. Then this yolk is at anterior and the posterior end, which is having a slightly chalizial end or the chaliziferous tissue, due to which whenever we will rotate the egg, this portion will be remain at only upward. And then the outermost covering of the egg is called as a shell membrane, which is a shell which is called as a calcium carbonate covering. And the shell is and beneath the shell we will observe the shell membrane. When we boil this egg, then after boiling, when we are removing the shell from that boiled egg, we are observing the thin transparent whitish color layer inside that shell, and that is nothing but the shell membrane. So this is just about the structure of a anatomy of the bird egg. Now we will consider how many different types of eggs are there. So eggs can be divided into the four different types. One is the type which is depend upon the amount of a yolk. Second type is upon the distribution of a yolk. If a yolk is a present, then how the yolk is distributed. The third is if that egg is surrounded by the protective covering which is made up of a calcium carbonate. If whether it is present or absent, depending upon that we can divide the egg. And the last one is the type of a development. So one by one we will discuss about these four different types of a egg. If we observe the amount of a yolk, then the egg will be maybe of a eulacithal, microlacithal, and macrolacithal type. If we study about the distribution of a yolk, then egg can be divided into homolacithal, telolacithal, or centrolacithal. If we divide the egg depending upon the presence or absence of a shell membrane, then that may be the clidoic one or non-clidoic. And depending upon the type of development, we can divide that eggs into determinate and indeterminate type. So let us discuss before that the main function of an egg is it is acting as a female gamete. It will carry the genetic material which is required for the fertilization, which is also required for the development of an organism. So it is also referred as a architectural marvel of the life. So it will supply the haploid set to the future embryo and its shape vary from organism to organism. Now, the first type we have discussed, that is the type of a egg depending upon the amount of a yolk. If the animal egg is not having any yolk or very less amount of a yolk is present, then that type of a egg is called as a eulacithal. And the best example are the eutherian mammals. If that animal is having a very small quantity of a yolk, then that type of a egg is called as a microlacithal type of a, egg, and it is present in the animals such as Amphioxus and the tunicates one. Then the type is a macrolacithal. If the animal consists of the larger amount of a yolk, then it is called as a megalacithal or macrolacithal. And the best one example is a reptile or the birds. Right now we have discussed about it. If apart from that, another type of the egg is if that egg is having a yolk, then how it is distributed. So depending upon the distribution of a yolk, egg is divided into homolacithal. That is, yolk is present throughout the egg cell. The best example is a Amphioxus. Then another type is a telolacithal. That is, if the yolk is present, then it is present at the either end. So at the tail. So that is called as a telolacithal. And the best example of this telolacithal type of a egg is fish and the birds. And the next example is next type is centrolacithal. If the egg is having a yolk, but yet that yolk is situated or distributed at the along the central axis of the egg, then that type of a egg is called as a centrolacithal type of a egg. And such a type of a eggs are observed in the insects. Now, the third important type of a egg is depending upon whether that egg is surrounded by the calcium carbonate layer or not. So here we can just remember C for C for calcium and C for clidoic. So if that egg membrane is having a calcium carbonate like covering, so that is called as a clidoic egg. The best example is the birds and the reptilian egg. And the second type in this one is non-clidoic egg. That is the egg which is not surrounded by the calcium carbonate covering. That is the best example is the amphibian egg or the mammalian egg which is not surrounded by the such a type of a shell membrane. And the last one is depending upon the determinate or the mosaic egg. That is determinate means if we are removing any part of the egg, then there will be uh, the problem for the development of an animal. So each and every part has an important function. And in case of an indeterminate one, if there is no, if we remove any part of that organism, then it's okay, no problem. The other part will occupy that region, and the entire development of the mammal will take place. So in this is depending upon the type of a development, egg can be divided into the determinate and indeterminate type. So this is the just a summary, and this is the mind map to remember the different types of a egg. That is, depending upon the presence or absence of a shell, it can be divided into the cladoic and the non-cladoic egg. Depending upon the amount of a yolk, it can be the alecithal, microlacithal, and macrolacithal. Depending upon the distribution of a yolk, it may be the homolacithal, telolacithal, and centrolacithal. And depending upon the type of a development, it can be the determinate and indeterminate type. So this was regarding egg, its structure, and the type of egg. So I hope that you have understand this, and thank you for watching. Thank you so much.